Hey guys, it's your girl Ashley Kirkwood with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, where we teach you how to start at the top of the speaking market instead of working your way up from the bottom. During this show, you will hear solo episodes from me, where I'll show you how I have landed and negotiated 5- and 6-figure speaking contracts and licensing deals. You'll also hear from our amazing guests who have grown enormous speaking businesses by utilizing sales and marketing principles that work. If you want to grow your speaking business, listen to this podcast, and then afterwards, head on over to ashleynicolekirkwood.shop and grab my book, Speak Your Way to Cash, How to Start at the Top of the Speaking Market instead of working your way up from the bottom. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Hey guys, let me let you in on a secret. For the past several weeks, I have been going on a virtual book tour to explore and expose the world to my book, Speak Your Way to Cash, How to Start at the Top of the Speaking Market instead of working your way up from the bottom. Now, I have not been able to put any of these episodes on the podcast, but I did one with Audria that was so good. Midway through, I asked her, could I record? And I recorded some of the audio just to share it with you guys, because y'all are my family, okay? So I have to get you guys listening to this episode. It was such a good interview. She did such a good job. And Audria is actually the founder of Uncloned Marketing, which is one of the sponsors of Speak Your Way to Cash Live. So it's only right that she gets special treatment. So listen into this interview where she asks me questions about the Speak Your Way to Cash book. And if you have any questions, send me an email. Shoot me an email to ashley@speakyourwaytocash.com. And the book is now available for pre-order, okay? It is now available for pre-order. So after you listen to this episode, if you hear anything that piques your interest, if you're interested in learning more, then go to ashleynicolekirkwood.shop. That's ashleynicolekirkwood.shop and grab your copy of the book, all right? Talk to you guys later and let me know what you think about this.
I can't speak for free forever, right? And I have to start asking people to pay me. Can you talk a little bit about at what point did you start to say, okay, I can't keep speaking on these pretty stages. I really need to transition into getting paid. How did you begin to adopt that mindset shift so you could do that?
That's such a good point. And another good point that Audria brought up that I want to bring home for everyone is there can be a marketing strategy to speaking for free. But if your goal is to get paid to speak, then that's not the way to do it. So for me, it was after I spoke on them pretty stages and I would be sitting at home and I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I would sit at home and I'd be like, man, they're having a women's empowerment panel and they didn't invite me and I'm a speaker and it would be so cool to speak there. And I feel like, I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit, if it was my husband, because he's been telling me to stop doing free stuff since I tried to do it in the beginning. But it was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, how will that matter to your business in 5 years? Do you want to do this because you just want to look cute instantaneously? Like you get that immediate fix of the stage is cute and you're on the panel with the cute girls. Like, is that the goal? Or is it that you want to build a business that can last after you're gone? So for me, two things happened. One was I went to those cute events and I did the event and it felt good in the moment. And then I got home and I realized I am no richer for the experience. A lot of times I wasn't even richer emotionally for the experience. There wasn't a large amount of substance or value that I was a part of as a result of those events. The second thing that happened was I realized that although I wasn't getting paid, other people were. So now once you look at it, I felt a little taken advantage of. Like, okay, so I'm not being paid for this, but other people are getting paid for this and this doesn't make sense. And then the third thing that happened was I spoke my first year speaking. I probably did 50 or 60 plus flights because I was just going after I was listening to the conventional wisdom of just get 50 engagements at $2,000 each and make $100,000. And I was like, this is way too hard to make $100,000. Now, for those of you who've never heard of me before, you don't even know anything about me, I left a $300,000 job to start my speaking career. So to me, doing all that work and all them planes to make $100,000 and I still had to pay an admin was just like, it was not sustainable for me and it did not make any sense. And, it didn't work. It did not work. So I had to have a hard look at my life and a look at myself and realize, okay, I cannot do it for the gram. I have to do it for the future. And when I made that shift, I also had to be comfortable like, okay, that may mean, Ashley, that you're not going to get invited to the cute stages. You're not going to get invited to, South by Southwest, or you can't do all of these other events. And maybe Essence isn't going to be for you this year yet. But at the same time, what you are going to do is land contracts that can sustain your business and your family. Because I was leaving my family to go get $2,000. Like, it's crazy, like getting on a plane to be in somebody's panel, like that was just it was not sustainable. And I think we can get caught up in what looks good and feels good, but it wasn't sustainable. And the audiences weren't qualified. So I would get to these events, I'd speak and think, oh, I'm gonna saw all this stuff in the back of the room, but I didn't even do enough diligence to qualify the audience. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing this no more. I got too many degrees. I've done too much in my career for this to be my lot in life. I'm going to go back to serving corporations.
Ooh, wait, child. I want to recap something you said. You said, I can't do it for the gram. I got to do it for the future. I think that's a writer downer.
Yep.
And it's so true because I have transitioned from, look, I know that, a lot of people are so used to your beginning stages, right? When you would speak for free, when you would come and give your soul away for nothing other than an announcement on the flyer or just to be in a room. And I think it gets to a point where you like, no, I'm actually better than this. I can do better than this. I know more half the time than the people who are being asked to speak. And if I'm going to be taken seriously, as you would like to say, you got to cut the check, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about how do you get to actually asking to be paid, right? In your book, you say your rate is based more on your confidence than your competence. Like, what does that mean? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean by that? How can you begin to ask more for your speaking rates?
That is so good. Yeah. So here's the thing. Most people wonder, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. The way that what I mean by that is your confidence is what allows you to press send on the email asking for $950,000 from a corporate client. It's not your accolades. A lot of people are frustrated in business because of what you just said. I know more than the organizer. I know more than the expert. I know more than her. And she's over here doing this. I know more than her. And she wrote a whole book. Look at that. I have a degree in, like, I hear this all the time. Like, I have a degree in I have my MBA. I should be crushing it in business. And I can't even make six figures. That's because you're putting your faith in accolades, but really the universe responds to action. Accolades do not matter at the point that you take zero action. Most people feel the confidence comes from real confidence, not the fake stuff that you see on, like, not confidence like sis posts a pretty picture, then she goes and cries about the way she looks. Like, authentic, genuine confidence comes from action. It comes from working on yourself. It comes from doing the things you talk about doing. It comes from the life you live. So real confidence comes from action. You can have all the accolades in the world, all the scripts, all the templates, all the swipe files, and we have all of that. We give 135 pages of information to students who work with me in Speak Your Way to Cash Academy. But no one is going to press send on an email. No one is going to pitch that contract without the confidence. And that confidence is only built by action, which means you're going to have to pitch people to speak. You're going to have to ask them for money, and you're going to have to do it wrong. And you're going to have to do it enough times to feel how rejection feels. You're going to have to get told no a lot. And that will inevitably result in you getting some big yeses. But what we like to do is avoid rejection, which is it's natural. You know what I mean? It's natural. But it's only in the rejection that you learn how to do things well. So that's what I mean by that. You're going to have to take action, and it's based on your confidence. That's how you see scammers. Like, scammers be like, hey, come buy this purse. It's real Louis and it's fake. You know what I mean? It's like totally fake. They got it from some back alley, but they're so confident. They're wearing it. They're doing everything because they got confidence. It's not about the actual substance of the thing they're selling. It's about the way they sell it. Now, if you can combine confidence with actual substance, which means you're working with someone who operates in integrity, then you're unstoppable. But for us, we would rather judge people actually doing stuff and critique them than work on doing stuff ourselves so we can put some products and services out there and get some contracts landed. So that's what I meant by that.
That's great. That's great. I wrote down $125,000 can seem like a lot of money, right? And obviously we know a lot of money is relative. So why is it so easy to command six figures yourself? Like, what is it that other people need to have in order to build up that confidence to go to a corporation and ask to be paid that? And what needs to be in place? What needs to be true in order to command six figures from a corporation?
Yes. So one, I want you all to believe that six-figure contracts are actually quite small. But two, that's like the first belief system you need is like, we're talking, I couldn't even write, like I wouldn't have even came out with a book that's like how to land $20 million corporate contracts. You know what I mean? Like that would be, people would be like, what? I'm like, look, let's just 5 or 6. So the first thing you have to believe is like, that's not a lot of money compared to the budgets of the people you're pitching. This is not you. Like, you're not selling it to me, to my business. You're selling it to a major corporation. So that's one. But then two, what you need to have in place in order to pitch these contracts confidently is an underlying expertise that is irrefutable. And what I mean by that is you need to be able to say, hey, I am the only speaker in the world that can bring you the Currency of Confidence program. It's our proprietary program. We do it all over the country. And I come in and I teach your employees the mindset, beliefs, and actions they need to thrive and be more successful in your business. We teach them how to overcome imposter syndromes in ways they've never discovered before. And we have an incredibly high success rate of 96% of people who go through this program actually feel like they have the tools to combat imposter syndrome day to day. The only way you get to say something like that, all of that is true for me. Like we teach the Currency of Confidence is we have a proprietary framework that we're selling corporations. That way I'm not with every other confidence speaker or leadership speaker. What I sell companies on is my framework, not me. Because when they buy into the framework, another consultant can give the speech. Another member of our team can give the speech. If I can't show up for whatever reason, they still get the same speech because it's the same framework. We have a registered trademark on that speech. We copyright our materials. So that is when you operate in the proprietary world. You're not like, hey, I'm a leadership speaker, hire me. I'm a self-confidence speaker, hire. Like, no, it's like, I will bring you this proprietary program. This is the only place you're going to get it. And if you buy into what I'm selling, you have to buy it from me. So yeah, sis can give you a motivational speech, but she can't give you this. And if she does, I'm a suer, it's infringement. So you got to have something proprietary. And then the thing that you sell, that proprietary framework, has to be backed by scientific evidence. So I know Audrey and I talk about this a lot, but like, you need to actually be an expert, people. Like, I think it would be sexy for me to say anyone and everyone could sell anything and everything for $100,000+ to a corporation. But the reason people don't feel comfortable doing that is because they don't have a proprietary framework. But what a lot of people do have, what I would bet most of you listening to this do have, is expertise. The only reason you don't have a proprietary framework is because you have not properly packaged that expertise. So I'm not saying if you don't have a proprietary framework right now, you can't sell to corporate. I'm saying you need to take the expertise you have, package it into a proprietary framework and model that companies will want to buy. And there's a whole lot of things that go into that, many of which we'll talk about at Speaker Ready Cash Live, my event coming up in November. But that's the key. The key is pricing outside of the market. If people are teaching you, like, a lot of speaking coaches are like, yeah, what's your topic? You talk to colleges, you're a college speaker, whatever. Like, that's cool if you want to price within the market. When you see those quotes like, oh, college speakers get $2,000 and $5,000. Yeah, if they're pricing inside the market. But to price outside the market, you have to have something that the market does not have, that the market cannot sell, because that conversation is very different.
So one of the things that we know, as you know, most speakers who are able to command these rates, is that they have IP. Right? Yep. They have taken the proper measures to protect their brand, to protect their processes and their frameworks, right? Do you find that this is the missing ingredient to closing those type of deals?
Yes, 100%. I do. I think that that's the missing ingredient, is not having IP and you know what it is, not just IP. One of the things I loved about, well, this is all IP. I actually, one of the things I loved about publishing like a pro was that you taught us how to have tangible products that we can hold in our hand, that we can sell, and that we can show people. Because IP is extremely important. Second to IP would be you need something tangible that people can see. You have to prove to them that you're the expert. And the way that you have that proof is books, workshops, worksheets, things that they can see before they hire you that proves that you are who you say you are. But IP is critically important. And when you think about the big deals that are being done, you know, people are like, oh, you know, company A bought company B, or they sold their song rights to this movie house, and now it's in all these movies. movies and they're getting residuals. All of that happens because they have their stuff protected. They have it's filed with the appropriate government agencies. They can prove that they own it. And we discount that a little bit. And so I don't want anyone to discount your intellectual property. That is literally your meal ticket as a speaker.
That's good. That's so good. So what is the biggest mindset struggle you see that speakers face? Like, what's something that you keep seeing over and over and over is a mindset you need to overcome so you can begin to embrace this new way of doing business?
Yeah, a big mindset piece that I see is people thinking that because it comes easily to them, they shouldn't charge a lot for it. There's a lot of guilt surrounding things that come easy to us and us charging for them. So most people who come and work with me at Speak Your Way to Cash, they're not afraid to speak. Like, I don't teach how to overcome your fear of public speaking. That's mindset work. I don't do that work specifically. I think Kelly Parker is here. I believe she does some of that work. I don't do that. What I do is I help you package what you have for corporations. I help you sell it to corporations. But for a lot of people, they think, okay, well, this comes easy to me, or it's a soft skill. Like, why would people want me to teach their employees how to be nice? Or why would they want me to teach their employees how to be more productive? Or the big thing I see is I wouldn't pay $120,000 for anyone to speak at my company. Why would they pay me to come speak? Or why would this company that has all these departments listen to little old me? So it's the mindset of like, I'm too small to do something so big. That's the real thing. I'm too small to do something so big. And what we need to change our mindset to is that what we're doing is big work. Like, and I'm not lying to you. The ideas that you all have in the audience, the thoughts that you wake up with, the innovation that you have, companies need that. And not only do they need it, they're hungry for it. And if you present it to them consistently in such a way that they can understand what you're doing, they're going to want to buy it. So the biggest mindset shift you have to make is I do big work. And because I do big work, I deserve to be paid well for it. And the only way you say thank you in America, company to company, is with the paycheck. There's no other way to say it. Like, that is how companies communicate to me that they're grateful. They pay me and they pay me well. Anything else is not them communicating gratitude. So that is what it is. Like, you got to get over that I'm too small to do something so big. Like, what you do is big, and so you deserve to be paid well for it.
I love that. I want to transition into getting the gig, right? Obviously, I can't go too detailed because, y'all have to go to Speak Your Way to Cash live and or grab the book. However, I do want to give people some steps to kind of get going. What would you say are some good steps to get going, to get started in the corporate arena? Like, what would you say the top 3 things that people can do to get going today?
Yeah. So the top 3 things I would say, number 1 would be topic. Number 1, you want to choose a topic. This is not proprietary framework. I'm sorry, y'all. That's my daughter's toy. It's not developing a proprietary framework yet. Just choose a topic, general topic. So like confidence, leadership, mindset, if you want to deal with wellness, like choose a general topic. And then after you choose a general topic, you want to choose a target. So the target would be, all right, I'm going to target all HR directors who have companies with at least 500 employees, and get a list of all the people in that target. And then after you have that target, you have to develop a pitch. Now, within that pitch, that is typically where you'll talk about your proprietary frameworks and everything else. But if you're just getting started, what you may want to do is start pitching people in your target to do market research instead of going straight to pitching them to do business with you. And during that market research, you can ask them questions about what you plan to speak about or your proprietary framework. And you can ask them, hey, this is what I teach. Does this sound valuable? If I were to tell you the title of my speech, which is The Currency of Confidence, what would you think it's about? Would it intrigue you? So that is where I would start at that phase. Just topic, target, pitch, and pitching for market research initially. And then from that market research, then you develop, all right, this is going to be my proprietary speech, my framework. And then you do all your IP checks and get that handled by a law firm. Mobile General Counsel is a great firm. I hear they do really good work over there. And I would go from there. That's how I would get started with the market research. It's less intimidating and it gives you data to say, man, that's really not that big. And a market research question I would also ask is like, I'm considering licensing a speech for $60,000 per year. Does that feel high or low to you? So ask them a question like that, because they'll be able to say, ooh, that feels high, or I think that feels a bit low. Typically we pay around $75,000. Because for me, that's how I found out we were undercharging for our licensing, was through, I did market research with 25 or more HR directors, all of whom went to Northwestern, which is where I went to law school, Northwestern Law in Chicago. So I just, and I didn't just research HR directors that went to Northwestern Law. I researched HR directors that went to Northwestern, any Northwestern, master's, undergrad, I didn't care. And I sent them an email like, hey, I'm also a Northwestern alum. I'm preparing a new program to launch into corporations. I don't want to sell you anything. I do want to ask you 3 questions over the course of 15 minutes about your experience. And I'm hoping you can help an alum out. And they were like, bet. And I did a lot of calls, and they were the ones who told me like, oh no, too low. Yeah, a little too high on that. Okay, for that service, yeah, that sounds about right. And that's when I realized, oh man, I've been out here playing games. And we started pitching these licensing contracts for, $50,000 to $75,000 per year to license a single talk and allow them to replay it on their servers, and landing it. And then it was like, oh, snap. After that, I was on. I'm like, this is dope. I'm going to keep doing this. And that's what I'd recommend. So I think the market research is what a lot of people skip, but it'll give you the confidence, because once you hear a lot of people say, no, that's normal. That's cool. Yeah, that's what we pay. That makes sense. Then you're going to feel more comfortable actually doing that.
That's great. I have a question. So what do you say to someone who has no experience working in corporate ever? They've never maybe worked in corporate. They have no experience with doing business in corporate. What would you say to those individuals?
I would say use what's in your hands. So here's what I mean by that. I'm a lawyer who went to Northwestern Law. It's a top 10 law school in the country. I also worked at Kirkland & Ellis, one of the largest firms in the world. Traveled the world, did all of that. They have movies about my old firm. So I use those stories to sell people. But let's say I was a lawyer who graduated from a bottom law school, never worked at a large firm, and, I practice IP law still. Then I would use what's in my hands. I'd be like, you know what? The great thing about me never going to a law firm is I never had to be oppressed by the systems that tell us that we're not good enough. And so I can flip the industry on its head because I'm not oversaturated with all the industry norm. And I went to a bad law school and still came out on top, and blah, blah, blah. You got to use what's in your hands. There's always a way to flip it. What I find people do is they immediately divorce themselves from success. So they're like, well, I didn't go to a top law school, so I can't do that. Of course they hire her because she went to a top law school. Versus saying, okay, we both went to a law school. We both are women. We both are Black. I'm just like her. I could do anything she could do. So that is the thing that I would say. If you've never worked in corporate, you got to use what's in your hands. You got to be like, I've never worked in corporate, but I have purchased thousands of products from corporations. Everywhere I look in my house is a product produced by a corporation. I'm a consumer. I know how consumers think. I've also sold thousands of products to consumers as an entrepreneur. I'm the perfect person to tell your company how to reach consumers. And I'm going to tell you different than everyone else you've hired because I've never been in their seats. So the ideas I have, you can't get from the employees at your office. You see how we flip that? It's all about using what's in your hands and not allowing what you don't have to keep you from doing what you know you need to do.
Ooh-wee. Well, one of the strategies you talk about a lot is pitching. Obviously, we're not going to get into that because that is where the secret sauce is. You all definitely need to get a ticket to Speak Your Way to Cash Live. I got a ticket and I'm a sponsor, so I'm super excited to be in the room. I do want to transition into, even though speaking is a big part of it, let's kind of fast forward a little bit. So let's say I did all of the 3 steps that you told me. I'm starting to get some interest. I'm ready to actually pitch myself, right? Typically, when people are pitching themselves for speaking engagements, they're typically pitching themselves for one-time engagements. Is that a boo-boo or no? Is that bad? Are we leaving money on the table? Talk to us about that.
Yes. So that was one of the big mistakes that I made early in my speaking career, was just pitching a keynote or a workshop. It was a very simple transaction. Hey, here's a keynote. Hey, here's a workshop. And I had no long-term plan for my clients, which meant every month or every year I'm starting at zero. And that was one of the things that was taught, hey, just pitch as many people as possible, pitch them on one thing, hope they buy it. When they buy, who cares about them? Leave them, then go pitch someone else or pitch to speak at that same event next year. Whereas what I think makes the most sense is to present clients with an ultimate solution. If clients hire me to talk about imposter syndrome and confidence, that means that there is low confidence in their organization. If I do one speech on it, that's cool. But what they probably need is for me to work with them over the course of a quarter. So I started having quarterly conversations with clients. So I would say, hey, due to demand right now, we're not taking on clients that are looking for one-off work. At least I'm not personally working with clients that are just looking for one-off work right now. I really work with clients that want to provide the ultimate transformation for their employees. Does that sound like something that you're interested in? And they're like, yeah, we're interested in that. Like, we don't want to leave them out there. And a key is how you ask the question. People want help. That's why they're having you to speak. But motivation is fleeting. What you want to do is change people's minds, and that typically just takes some time. So instead of pitching one workshop, you may want to start off pitching a workshop series with a little bit of consulting. And if they say, oh, we can't afford all that right now, then you should give them a pricey opt-in. Like, all right, I understand that. Why don't we start with this single workshop? I come in, I give that workshop, and only if your employees find value in it will we have another conversation about how I can keep working with you. That way you can see the results and it's no risk. Does that work for you? And they're like, oh, yeah, that works. No risk. I like that. And then you just sell them. You may downsell them on a single workshop, but they should at least have the knowledge to know that you have more to offer them. So that's kind of how I would approach it. And I know people are raising their hands. Did you want to take questions at the end?
Absolutely. Okay. Take questions. I want to make sure we get through all of these juicy questions. I'm probably going to ask you maybe 2 more questions, and then we're going to open up room for Q&A. So I'm going to turn off the room hand raising feature, and then I'm going to turn it back on when we are ready to accept people to start asking questions.
Awesome.
I think one of the things that's important is that I hope you all are seeing how all of this is coming together. We talked about having a proprietary framework and a process for how you transform your clients and you get them results. Then we went into what process you need to take to actually start attracting the people you want to work with, the brands you want to work with, the corporation you want to work with, the departments, or whatever that may be. One of the things that is common is you have to have expertise. And that's something that neither one of us can give you, right? We cannot give you expertise. We cannot tell you how to do your thing. That's something you need to know like the back of your hand. So if you are going to go into corporate, it's very important that you understand not only the impact of your talk, but what's going to be the impact if you're invited in to actually transform the organization. What does that look like? That's what we're talking about. And I think it's important to know that, because if you understand exactly how you transform people and get people a result, it's going to be very easy to get deals and close deals. So one of the things that I love talking to you about, and this is something that I don't see a lot of speakers talking about at all, speaker coaches, hell, speakers in general, any speaking books, for some reason, licensing is missing from all of it. You are the first person. I want to tell a little quick story, and then I want you to talk about licensing. Okay. I don't know if you remember this, maybe last year or year before last, you was doing a webinar. And typically when people host a webinar, they do a webinar and, you get the replay. So that was my expectation. I'm like, I ain't available that day and time. And so I'm just going to go and get the replay. So I get there to your website and I go and I sign up, and literally it was like to attend only, or to attend and get the replay, I believe. I think that's what it was saying. And even when I got the replay was like, you only got 14 days to get to watch it. I was like, whoa. And I was telling me like, yeah, that's part of your licensing strategy on how you're able to monetize your brand a lot more. And I think for a long time, I've always felt like the oddball, because I would always talk about licensing, and there aren't a lot of people who are doing licensing, understand licensing. They don't even have access to license. And so when we start talking about licensing, how important is that to the bottom line when you are growing your speaker business, but just licensing in general? Can you speak to that? And why do you feel like that's something that is avoided from most speaker coaches?
Yeah, I think it's all, the avoidance is all about experience. I think people like to talk about what they know, or at least what they can't be called on. So that's my opinion on that. Like, most of the time, you're not going to speak about something unless you can be questioned about it. And one thing that I always tell my clients to look for And what I look for when I'm hiring people to do anything for me is what's the depth of knowledge? I don't need to know like the surface level stuff. Have you done a licensing deal? Like, what's the depth that you can talk about this with? Because I want to learn from someone who has some depth, because I'm going to ask questions. That's one thing about me. I was a trial lawyer. I would put people on the stand, cross them up with some questions. Okay. So I have questions. And if I can tell that you can't answer the question with depth, then it's a no for me. So I think people don't talk about what they can't be questioned on. And then other times it's because licensing is such a huge topic that there's so many elements to it. And if you really start teaching it, and we're gonna release a whole licensing course, but it's very deep. It's a very deep topic because there's different licensing for products, licensing for ideas, licensing for, you can license your image. We've negotiated image licensing deals where literally someone can use your face on a billboard in certain geographical regions and you get paid for that. So there's so many things that so many ways that you can utilize licensing that even people who really, really, really know it are like, it's too much. I'm not going to talk to you about that. So one, maybe they don't have the experience, or two, they got a lot of experience and they like, this is too much. Like, I'm not going to teach on this topic because it's just so deep and intricate. But I think that licensing is critical, and it's really critical because if you're having a negotiation, and one of the things that I've done a lot of is negotiating other people's contracts to make sure they get paid a whole lot more money. And when I'm doing these negotiations, a lot of times the company will come to our client and say, hey, we're going to pay you X for your workshop, for instance. And I'm like, okay, great. I appreciate this fee for the workshop. What fee are you giving them for instructional design? And they're like, what you mean? I thought that was included in the workshop. I'm like, oh, no. This fee may work just for them to show up and present, but where is their fee for actually creating these custom materials? Because they can't regurgitate this exact same presentation anywhere else. So obviously you have to pay for the customization. Where is the instructional design fee? We didn't think about that. Okay, great. And then where is the fee for them providing copy for you to distribute to your audience and your employees to make sure that they get, that they show up, that they're presenting well? Like, we need a fee for that. So I think what licensing does is it gives you the language to describe the individual elements that you're charging the client for, because it's one fee for me to just show up, do the instructional design, etc. But you have to pay me another fee for utilizing, like, some people want you to do a custom workshop for them. They want the replay for life. Okay, so you want the right to license this training in perpetuity. Like, that is expensive, far more expensive than if you buy a 30-day license. And that's how you start negotiating, because then companies are like, oh, well, okay, so for 30 days, I can license it for 30 days for $5,000. But if I want to license it for the year, I have to pay a lot more. Well, let me see what we can do. And they can come back to you with a reasonable offer for all the things that you're providing. It becomes really difficult for you to get a lot of money for your speeches if you don't have the language to parse out what you're selling. And that's where I see people miss it, is they think they're selling a speech, but really you're selling a speech. You're letting them you're on the flyer for the presentation. So they're taking your image and using it. You didn't have them sign a contract explaining exactly how they can and cannot use your image. Because think about this, Audria, what if they have you on a marketing panel? They got your face up there and they have your face up there next to somebody who you don't agree with their tactics, or they were accused of fraud recently. Now you don't want your image next to them. And that's why licensing is so important, because you can delineate in your contract, you can use my image on solo flyers for 30 days before the event. If you want to use it for a year, they can pay a licensing fee for that. So you just have to be mindful of what you're actually giving people. It's not just, them putting your image on a flyer. That has weight and value because it's your image. It's your IP. Your image means something very different than the images of other marketing consultants. The brand means something very different. And when people want to borrow that weight that you've built up, they got to pay for that.
Ooh, woo. Okay, I think that's a perfect way to ask you this last question, because you and I have these very deep conversations offline all the time. However, that's a privilege for me, right? And you and I, because we have such a good relationship. Mm-hmm. How do people begin to deepen this relationship, learn how to really show up, as a professional speaker and get these six-figure contracts? What do they need to do? How do they learn about the book? Can you talk a little bit about your upcoming event here? I'm excited to be a sponsor of y'all. I spoke at this event last year. It was lit. This year is even better. Like, I wish y'all could see all of the work and energy and time and effort that's going into it. Her and her husband, they're just really getting it in. Can you talk a little bit about Speak Your Way to Cash Live, how they can participate, where to go sign up, and how they can get your book?
Yes, definitely. And we're so thankful for you being a sponsor, because all of our sponsors this year are people that I've spent money with and that I've made money because of their services. So Unclone Marketing, Smith AI, Dipsato are all sponsors of this event, meaning they're putting something in the beautiful welcome boxes that you all are going to get before the event that you can utilize to grow your business. We only invited everything about this event is exclusive. We only invited select people to sponsor. Like, people can't even just choose to sponsor because they pay some amount of money. No. Not how we roll over here, okay? So everything about the event is really taken into account. Now, the event itself is for speakers, thought leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs who want to land 5- and 6-figure corporate speaking contracts, and specifically those who need to know how to build out that proprietary framework, how to begin to sell to corporations, and the language that they should utilize on their sales calls with corporations. We have one day dedicated to a variety of parts of the paid methodology. We have a pre-event prospecting party where I'll be showing you all how I find people to pitch on screen, on camera. We have a pre-event Q&A call that you can access if you get your ticket really today. And then you get a welcome box with a workbook information from our sponsors. My book, the Speak Your Way to Cash book, will be in the welcome boxes for everyone who gets their tickets before September, because we're shipping out these boxes worldwide. So we have to have time to ship everything out. But the event itself is where you want to be if you want to learn how to land those 5- and 6-figure contracts, how to write a 6-figure proposal, how to sell to corporations, how to overcome the mindset blocks that are keeping you from selling to corporations. We kick off the event with something called a Dreamer's Den, which is where we are going to literally dream and visualize about our businesses in a way that you have not done before. And then we end the event on the third day with a language lab, which is where I'm literally giving you guys scripts because you get the book. I want to explain this. You get the book before the event, but you also get a whole separate workbook that coincides with the information that you learn over the course of 3 days. It is a really high level event, and everyone else in the room is going to be just like you. They're wanting to grow their business. They're very qualified business owners. They're experts. They're entrepreneurs. They're thought leaders. They're people who are serious about putting their messages into the world and being compensated for it. And we've curated that environment. So if that sounds like you and you want to attend and you do have expertise, but you want to know how to package it, you have a message you want to get into the world and you want to be well paid for it, then that is the best place for you to be November 4th through the 6th, 2021. So you can go to speakyourwaytocash.com/event to get all of the information about the event and sign up while we still have our payment plan available. And then you can also, for information about the book, click the link in my Instagram bio or just go to speakyourwaytocash.com/book to get information about when the book drops. But I would highly recommend that you all check it out and come. I mean, we have a virtual experience and an in-person experience. Our virtual experience is it's not going to be somebody's computer in the corner streaming. We have a 4-person AV crew that's coming in to make sure that everyone virtual gets the full experience. And then we have volunteers literally flying into Chicago to sit in the room with me on their laptops to make sure all of our virtual attendees have the best experience possible. We have breakout sessions and all of that fun stuff. But it's so much is going into this event. I've worked on it every day for the past literal year to make sure that it's the best thing that I've ever put out in terms of an event. And it's our 6th one. So definitely make sure you're there. If this conversation piqued your interest at all, you will want to be in that room for sure.
I'm telling you, this is the place you need to be if you're talking about leveling up, okay? Y'all always trying to see what I'm doing. I'm going to be here. So you need to get your ticket. If you want to level up, okay? If you want to know what Audrey is doing to leveling up, she's going to be doing this, okay? You're going to start seeing me over there in the corporate space, getting those big checks, walking, doing the stanky leg, gonna be cash checks. Okay,
mm-hmm.
So this is where you need to be at. Can you tell them the URL one more time?
Yes. speakyourwaytocash.com/event. And if you forget that and go to Speak Your Way to Cash, you can just click the event button right on that website too. But it's speakyourwaytocash.com/event. And anyone with questions about the event can hit me up in the back channel or send me a DM on Instagram, and I'm happy to answer questions.
All right. Wasn't that interview amazing? If you're anything like me, you have pages full of notes. But here's the thing. Before you head out, I want you to go to facebook.com and join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group. That is where I am. That's where a ton of other speakers are, a ton of other people who listen to the show. We all congregate there and chat. And it's 100% free. Now, if you're ready to take your speaking career to the next level, I have 2 ways for you to do that. One, you can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com/SYWTC live replay and pick up the live replay. That training is 7 modules, chock full of information. It's crazy. Go over there, read all about it. Or if you want a more personal experience, you already know that you want to be a speaker, you're ready to fully commit, and you want someone to walk you through it and save you tons of time Googling and doing it on your own, then book a VIP day with me. You can go to ashleynicolekirkwood.com, scroll down until you see the VIP day section, and get more information on that there. All right. Thank you guys again for watching. Please do not forget to leave us a review. That is how we keep this train rolling and get some of the best speakers in the world to get on this show. So please, please, please leave a review. Shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and Facebook in the Speak Your Way to Cash group, Instagram at the Ashley Nicole Show. And I'd be more than happy to chat with you and say hi. All right, y'all have an awesome, awesome day.